In this video today, we are talking about World of Color 1, some new imagery, video, music, all kinds of stuff in regard to this new show. Pretty awesome stuff. We're also going to talk about that dining card over at Walt Disney World, Florida. We have a lot to discuss today on OG 55. Welcome aboard to another episode of Orange Grove 55. Today we are talking all kinds of, we're going from coast to coast, right? We're going to go to Anaheim and to Florida. We're talking the dining card over in Florida, and then we're going to talk about World of Color 1 over in Anaheim, DCA. A lot to discuss. Before we do that, I want to introduce my fantastic panel, my brothers, my family. We got the family man. We got Vash Sky, Mr. Family Man. If you could start us off today and let everyone at home know where they can find you on social media.
Absolutely. You can find me on my YouTube, Disney Family Man 23. You can interact with me on Twitter at Disney George. Check out the new podcast I am part of called A Walk with Walt. And of course, you'll find me here on my home base at Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info.
Pay attention, it's Joe time.
There we go. There we go. And down below, the DA, Dr. Dre, Vash Sky, host of the Freshly Squeezed show here on the channel, is back. Welcome back, Dre. Where can they find you on social media, sir?
Hey, best place to find me is going to be on Twitter. It's right down there at Vash Sky. You can go ahead and type it in for, as Christine Waysons McCarthy would say, for all the
robust
discussion right there. And if you want to see me, well, it's going to be on the channel you're watching right now at Orange Grove 55, where you have my show there, Freshly Squeezed. Your source for juice, news, and info, squeezed fresh, right from the Grove. All right, fellas, I think we should get into it.
Yes, let's dive into today's topics at hand. First topic actually is going to be World of Color 1, more specifically. This is very, very interesting. Now, this is a show, I got to be honest with you. We talked about this in a couple videos that I was actually very, very cautious about, right? I've been kind of vocal in that I'm more excited, more optimistic about the fireworks show over at Disneyland. I was I don't know about this World of Color 1. Well, my opinion is changing now. I got to admit, this is looking pretty interesting, everybody. So, Dre, if you want to go ahead and set the table.
Yes. So new details of this show coming to Disney California Adventure Park in January 27th have been revealed, and it's setting up to be quite an interesting production. We had talked about before how, look, we all kind of loved the original World of Color, right? And we all kind of had affection for it. And to date, I think it has been the best World of Color type production that has been put on in the Paradise Pier, Pixar Pier Lagoon. Well, now, the show has been completely transformed from, head to stern. And we have now this kind of new show, which is seeking to integrate, as the press release actually states, or the Disney Parks blog post actually states, this is the first Disneyland Resort Nighttime Spectacular to feature characters and music and moments from Walt Disney Animation Studios, Pixar Animation Studios, The Avengers, and Star Wars in the same production. As you can see, little baby Grogu right there will feature favorite films such as Lion King, Moana, Coco, Mulan, and Soul right there, and others emerge on immense water screens that can span up to 380 feet across. I think the one thing that was a little bit concerning was after that, and we were going to bring this up, but man, sometimes you just don't have the time, right, to bring up some of these smaller stories. But when the New Year's Eve, I believe it was Dick Clark's New Year's Eve party, footage was revealed that showcased World of Color 1 even before this blog post was actually posted. They were saying how this was going to be, you can, it shows how one person can change the world and so forth and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, well, isn't this supposed to be about the Walt Disney Company? Is this a little, preachy for a Nighttime Spectacular entertainment show? Well, I think they managed to kind of make it all come together in a very interesting way. So it says right here, World of Color 1 celebrates how a single action, like a drop of water, creates a ripple that can grow into a wave of change. She'll discover how it only takes one action to make an impact on the world, or on the people in your lives and the world around us. Just as one man, Walt Disney, started that wave that has continued to grow and inspire people around the globe for 100 years. And OG, isn't that something that we've said before?
Yeah, no, it is. And we have said this many, many times. I mean, we would not be here today. We would probably not even know each other. You know, my best friends, my brothers, I would probably not even have ever met them if not for Walt Disney. This is a man that was born in 1901 and it's impacting lives in 2023. So this is actually a really, really clever, really, really creative, almost kind of brilliant kind of approach, kind of a theme, how one person can change the world with these ripple effects. And I really dig it. I am very, very surprised at how much I'm actually digging this because, like I said in the intro, I've been very critical of this show in particular. I didn't love the name, right? I've been much more optimistic in regards to the fireworks show coming to Disneyland. Traditionally, those have impressed me more than a lot of these ancillary World of Color shows that have come out over the years. I don't know. I mean, from what I'm seeing here, this might be a sleeper hit for me personally. I'm very, look at this, gorgeous. And that's, that Moana part right there is exactly what I've been saying for years.
Yeah.
Simplicity is king. All it is low-level fountains and Moana interacting with that wave. And I got goosebumps. I got literal goosebumps. You don't need a bunch of stuff thrown at you every 5 minutes. I mean, sometimes that simplicity really hits you in the gut. But what do you think, George? How are you feeling about this? Well,
overall also
thought?
based off of what you just said, hashtag harmonious barges. Need I say more? That
yeah, exactly right.
As you have a show like Harmonious that was supposed to be this big spectacular thing with robotic arms and fountains and pyro and all that kind of stuff, and then you would have a show that's more simplistic in the sense, and as you said, OG, sometimes that's really all that you need, really.
Yeah.
And I too was one. I was very hesitant on, first off, the title, because I didn't really understand what the one really stood for. In a sense, a lot of people was saying it's the first of its kind, or one standing for 1 for 100 of the 100s of the Walt Disney Company. But now it's starting to kind of really flesh out as it being that one individual. And they kind of mentioned that during the New Year's Eve celebration, but didn't get into specifics until now, when it's really kind of circulating back to Walt. And I think that is something that really needs to be mentioned, especially since a lot of the controversy that came out with Disneyland's birthday / anniversary when they took the dedication speech out. And I think moving forward that the company really started to notice that, you take Walt out of Disney, there's nothing. And
you take Walt out of Disney and you become Paramount Pictures or Viacom or any other random studio. Walt is what makes this studio, even for normies. This is what's drawn people in over all these decades,
Not only that, George, I mean, look at the controversy that came around the lack of history or the lack of mention of Walt and Roy when it came to the 50th anniversary, and how that was maybe not 100% rectified, but it was beautifully incorporated into the Disney Enchantment show as kind of a little bit of a pre-show there. And I thought that was a very, very good integration. I think from then on, we've kind of seen, okay, let's get Walt back in here just a little bit.
Yeah.
Especially when it deals with the company's 100th anniversary. I thought that was a pretty cool inclusion. If you can see right here, this is why I've stopped it right here. You can see, I don't remember those two boxes being out there.
Me neither.
And we're seeing projections at different levels on the platform that I've not seen before either. So you see right there with that Pocahontas shot. If I can get
it's more like mid-center.
See that?
Oh yeah, that's interesting.
I've not seen that before. So those look like new projection boxes that have been put out on the water to incorporate various effects that were not incorporated in the original World of Color. And this is kind of what I've been saying, where some of the technologies and so forth that were part of the original World of Color, like the projection domes and so forth, or what was supposed to be the big what a Chernobog effect at the end of the show, that never really worked, right? And those projection domes, obviously, they faded away. So what the show used to lean on in terms of a new in terms of technological incorporation, they were just taken out over a certain time period, and we've had new stories and new films added to the Disney canon in that time. That's like, okay, maybe it's not just time for a revision, maybe it's time for a completely different version. So I think this definitely has a lot of potential. And George, I think you're right about the harmonious barges and so forth. There is a beauty in simplicity. There's an elegance in it, and if you're really talented at doing these shows, you can find that. And I think Disney is. Go ahead, OG.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you want to have the tech. You want to have it be pretty much invisible. You want the water, the lights, and all this beautiful imagery to really shine and be the show. And that was one of the big problems I had with those projection domes that you talked about, Dre, is that, see, all that stuff, it's visible tech that you're looking at. It's a physical prop in the lagoon. And I always hated that. I'm glad they got rid of those. Let the water do the storytelling. Let the music and the lights do it. Make it really an organic show. And that's what they really leaned on, that organic feeling in this one, it looks like.
And I know that we can't play it for copyright reasons and what have you, but the music to this, when it comes to a nighttime entertainment show, I am a sucker for a good soundtrack.
Oh yes.
And
this has it.
The song that is presented just for the opening of this, it captures you. It grasps your attention. And I think it's one of those things that if that's just one piece of it, so to speak, I can't wait to actually hear the full orchestrated soundtrack to the show.
It's interesting too, and I know a lot of fans aren't going to want to hear this. This is a residual Chapek thing.
Yeah, it is. And it seems like he did follow at least a little bit of the data, because even the song, which I think is very, very strong, very, very powerful, has almost, not completely, obviously, but almost some happily ever after vibes in there. Oh, yeah. Maybe not as uplifting as happily ever after, of course, but it definitely has that kind of integration in there. Looks like it has the integration of Walt and so forth. So it looks like they did listen back to some of the feedback that they were receiving, not just for shows in this lagoon, but also shows around the world. So that's a very interesting thing. We can see more technology being used. Those lights right there, how they're being used as part of the Incredicoaster. We've not seen that type of integration before. I think this is all setting up to be kind of a sleeper hit of this whole thing. I think a lot of people were obviously very excited about the new fireworks presentation that's going to be featured at Disneyland. But this right here might be something pretty cool.
Yeah, and I really like. I don't know if it shows it on this clip. It might. I don't think it does. But I like how they incorporated Star Wars and Marvel into this show, because look, and I know a lot of like fans are kind of traditionalists, and I am like that in a lot of ways. When it comes to animation, I'm very much a traditionalist. Okay.
Yeah.
But I think when you're celebrating 100 years of the Walt Disney Company,
you have to cover every aspect of that.
Right. The reality is Marvel is part of the Walt Disney Company. The reality is Star Wars is part of the Walt Disney Company.
It's a huge
This is awesome. A huge part of it. And this is cool. Look at this. From Endgame, the portal. I mean, this is dope. You know what? Actually,
we have a Hulk.
There you go. We now have in the lagoon.
We have a Hulk.
We have a Hulk.
There was, let me see if I can find it here. I found the original footage that they had originally premiered here. And there's this one shot here of the Falcon going to hyperspace.
Oh yeah, good, cool.
That I thought was pretty dope right here.
That Moana scene right there.
I know.
Unbelievable.
It's gonna be right about here-ish, maybe. There we go.
Oh yeah.
There it is.
Oh,
That's a pretty dope move, and they have
Yeah,
all
dude.
3 screens going, so it's a huge canvas, and so forth.
And can you picture that with the score of John Williams?
Oh god,
my
dude.
man, that would.
I want to know who did this show. I want to know. Was it Steve Davison? Do we know?
I don't know.
I want to know who did
I'm still
this
looking
show.
into it.
Because this show is like from what I'm seeing could possibly rival the original. I mean, I'm loving the stage crafting of it all, where it's like the way they position the different fountains and the mist screens with what they're showing. It's because like some of these ancillary World of Color shows, you can kind of tell they phoned them in, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can tell the placement of even just the fountains in relation to the screens and everything it's just perfection, absolute perfection.
Yeah.
So-
I mean, these things are very, very well incorporated. You can tell that there was some thought. There was some, let's say, some effort applied in order to, not only provide these images on these screens, but incorporate them in a show that kind of all it translates well, right? I always thought the original World of Color did that so beautifully, and how they would use lasers and so forth to make it look like it was under the sea, and how they would implement certain effects, especially during the Wall-E scene and so forth. I mean, it was really, really dazzling, and you could point out certain various features of the what is it, the individual fountains and how they would use them and so forth. And how they would integrate between scene to scene. Like it was just really well done if you really looked at it hard enough. I see a lot of those same things occurring once again, but now that the tech is now, I mean, we're talking World of Color debuts in 2010, 2011. We're talking, it's been more than 10 years now, and to see how the technology has grown and evolved, and now they're incorporating some of those lessons into this show. I think it's going to be really phenomenal.
Absolutely. And I love how they integrated little baby Grogu with the green highlights and everything. And this is what I'm talking about, which is the stage presentation of this whole thing. I mean, it's just absolutely gorgeous.
Well,
Absolutely
even you had
gorgeous.
mentioned, OG, to the title itself, like of how they did the circle with one, and how it kind of is the trickle of the water of how it circulates. I mean, that's the core creativity of Disney that we are craving for them to continue with.
Yeah. No, this looks like a really, really good show. It looks.
And how long is this runtime?
26, I thought it was.
Something like that. It was pushing 30 minutes. I know that. I don't know the exact number, but it was close to 30.
I have a feeling that this is going to be more of the headliner over Wondrous now.
It could be. It very well could be.
I wonder if Disney is really banking on that, of why they cut more of Wondrous down to kind of beef this one up.
It's possible. I mean, and the thing too is, like, I'll admit when I'm wrong, and I think it was, I forgot what video it was, but I was kind of really, really skeptical of this show. I mean, I was like, I don't know, you guys, a lot of these World of Color shows since the first one haven't really been that great. I don't know, you guys. You know what? I'm sold. I'm sold on it. This moved right up on top of my list now. I mean, it really rose to the rankings based on the footage we're seeing here. I'm really excited about this. Can't wait.
Yeah, I can't wait either.
I think this will at least be the sleeper hit, the one that was, maybe not on anybody's radar going into it, or as many people's radar as the fireworks presentation, but once they see it, it's like, oh, this really works here.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's I think it's time. I mean, like I said, it's been 10 plus years since the original World of Color show. Like I said, some of the effects, don't necessarily work as well as they did back in, back during the time that it actually debuted. Now doing this whole new show, incorporating these kind of new stories, bringing it to a new audience and so forth. I think this really has the potential of being, one of the best shows that's ever, been part of Disney California Adventure. So I'm really excited about it.
And this little baby right here is gonna bring the house down because it's like this
yes.
character is just so freaking popular. It's out of control. It's out of control.
It's out of control. Out of control. So very, very excited.
Yeah, no, it's phenomenal stuff. Really, really encouraging. My hype level has gone up exponentially. I am on board. But we got more to talk about. But we're gonna take a flight over to the East Coast, not Southwest, for because
Hey, I heard Delta has free Wi-Fi now, so maybe we go on there just for a second.
Okay, we're taking Delta. We're taking Delta over to the East Coast now. We're gonna talk a little Walt Disney World. But you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and let my my good friend George. Here we go.
And now your host,
Disney Family Man 23.
Thank you very much. So the second topic of this Orange Grove 55 show is all about it's January 5th, 2023, which was announced. Well, it was leaked yesterday, but it goes online today that Walt Disney World is starting to give out Disney dining promo cards for select Walt Disney World guests that are staying on property with special specific vacation packages. And this kind of came out starting with WDW News Today that kind of was giving the gist of everything. Now, I do have to give a little bit of an update. Yesterday, they had mentioned that it was supposed to be a 5-night, 4-day base ticket, but they actually, the real package that Disney is releasing, that it's a minimum of a 4-night, 4-day base ticket. Right. And depending on which level tier hotel you're staying at, you can get a Disney dining promo code of up to $750, depending on how many days you're staying and which hotel you're staying at. For instance, if you're staying at a Disney Value Hotel, it's $35 per night. Now, it is not per person. It just goes by per room. So it's $35 per night. If you're staying at a moderate, I believe it is $75.
Mm-hmm.
75. And then if you're staying at a deluxe, it's 125. But then that's from June 25th through the 30th and July 11th through the 31st of 2023. July 1st through the 10th and August 1st through
the 14th.
The 14th, correct, is $50 per night if you're at a value hotel, $100 at a moderate, and $150 at a deluxe. Now, what I find kind of interesting is back in 2021, Disney had announced that they were going to bring back the dining plans, but there was no official date announced or what have you. But now Disney is going this route, which kind of ponders the question, is Disney ever going to bring back the dining plan? And this has just come from the brink of them raising hotel prices and ticket prices. So I kind of wonder that since they are going with this raise, to kind of give back a little bit and try to mediate that notion of like what's too expensive and what is traditionally free, of what it used to be, because they used to give out free dining plans from late summer into early fall for Walt Disney World resort packages. And there is one other little stipulation that if you want the eligibility to be able to get this dining promo card, is it has to be a regular price vacation package. It cannot be with an attached discounted price.
I mean, I think it's a good idea. I mean, like Dre, we talked a lot about how we're heading into some pretty rocky economic territory soon.
Yeah.
And I think anything you can do to sort of incentivize is not a bad call. It seems like I feel like it's a proactive move. But to be honest, I don't really know 100%. I'm not really privy to the numbers over there at Disney World with the dining and all that. I don't really know if they need to do this because the numbers are waning, or if they can see trouble ahead and they're doing this as a proactive. I really don't know, but I think it's a good move overall.
So I looked into that, OG, because initially I thought, okay, this might be a stopgap for for a Disney dining plan comeback. But
Right.
as I started doing a little bit more research into it, my conclusion actually changed. And this all kind of, in order to kind of take people through this, I kind of had to go back in history a little bit, to reanalyze these certain things and why I've come to the conclusion that I have come to. So I believe there was a Disney dining card of some kind that was introduced in the 1990s, and that was like a kind of a you could buy and pay for it in advance, and you can go to I believe like anywhere between 1 to 3 dining locations per day, get a little punch card almost, and then on your merry way. In 2005, that's when the first version of the Disney dining plan was actually announced and revealed to the public, and it was $35 per person per day, $10 per person per child per day, and that incorporated one table service meal, right, with tip and appetizer. Interestingly enough, one counter service meal, and one snack for under $5. And $35, pretty good. That's a legitimately a good value back then. That would be an amazing value now.
Oh yeah.
But well, as all things do, there are some price increases, right? And so this increased exponentially up until about 2020, when the last iteration of the dining plan was actually revealed, and it's been gone ever since. And that last iteration of the dining plan incorporated actually multiple levels at that point. You had the quick service plan, which was 2 quick service meals with beverage, 2 snacks, 1 resort refillable mug, $55 now per person, and $26 per child. You had the standard dining plan, which was 1 quick service meal, 1 table service meal, no appetizers anymore, tips not included anymore, 1 refillable mug, 2 snacks, and that was $78 per person, or $30 per for kids. Then you had the Disney Dining Plan Plus, which included 2 sit-down meals, the deluxe dining plan, which is 3 table service meals, and that was like $119. And it kind of morphed into something that was not necessarily value oriented, but for the planners who wanted to have all these things paid in advance. And so there were 2 kind of factions that occurred there. One was, the spontaneous visitor, the visitor who was like, I can manage my own money, I can manage my own dealings, and I can deal with that bill at the time that I actually dine, right? Then you had the people who were like, hey, I want an all-inclusive vacation. I want to prepay for all this in advance. I don't want to have to worry about food nor the price on the days of my actual vacation. So that's where that bifurcation actually occurred. Now, interestingly, some people saw it as kind of value-oriented, and in some instances where they actually included it as part of your resort stay during certain times, it was. But more often than not, I mean, look, in Vegas, they say the house always wins. At Walt Disney World, the mouse always wins. And they would always do things to kind of manipulate certain things and so forth in order so that, Disney themselves actually came out ahead. For instance, right, you had certain table service certain table service options that were incorporated onto the plan. Well, instinctively, you're thinking, well, I'm going to get the most expensive thing on the menu because I've already prepaid for this, and I might as well get my money's worth. Well, those top-tier items changed a little bit in terms of their quality, in terms of, what kind of things that they would incorporate and include. And so that way, Disney wasn't coming out with a loss, let's say. And there were small things that were done in order to, they would have, let's say, you would have enhancements on the menu where, hey, you have things that are included in your dining plan, but for an additional upcharge, you can include this, you can include that. So you were kind of buying into kind of a mousetrap, if you were. And so that's why a lot of, experts actually said, hey, you know what, just with moderation, just go in there and just kind of do the dining yourself, right? Because you don't want to be necessarily locked into a plan where you both have to eat, 2 have to eat at certain locations, and 3 have to order certain things in order to get your money back. It just doesn't quite make sense. So the dining plan, I think, was definitely a strategy in which Disney could employ to maximize spend. And honestly, that's what they've kind of done with the inclusion of these prefix dining options that you see at Walt Disney World. George, you know what I'm talking about here, where you sit down at a restaurant and you pay a set price for a entree, appetizer, and beverage in some...
And a dessert, yeah.
And dessert.
Yeah.
Okay. Beverage is not included, I don't think, at certain locations, right?
Certain locations, no.
Okay, yeah. And now you're buying into a kind of min-max kind of set price. And that way that prevents people from going to be our guests, splitting a meal and heading out of there, or maybe just getting a dessert in order to take advantage of some of the entertainment offerings that are included or incorporated into that restaurant. We saw that Space 220 opened with a prefix menu, which I think was one of the first restaurants to open at all with that kind of option available. So
you're basically paying for your seat as far as those kind of
exactly, but it's also kind of mini dining plans on the location level rather than for your entire trip. And so that's how they kind of gotten around that a little bit.
See, I remember when I did the deluxe dining plan, and it was 3 meals per person per day. And I tell you what, a lot of times we were scrambling more to try to get our money's worth to use up those dining vouchers, so to speak, because a lot of times you think, oh, yeah, I could do 3 sit-down meals per day. But you know what? When there's so much to do, and then you do one dining reservation, and then 2 to 3 hours later and you have another one, it's like, well, it feels like I just ate, I'm not hungry, so, and it's like, and then you're kind of stuck with all those vouchers at the end.
You have to, right? And I guess having, snack vouchers kind of at the end of your trip became a little bit of a meme that you didn't use, right? But that's when the explosion of restaurants being hard to book actually came from. Because think about it, the more people that are on a dining plan, well, they have to book those table service locations that they've already bought into. So there was a really enhanced emphasis placed on having to make a reservation, having to, really kind of make... scheduling out your meals and so forth. And that's where we saw dining locations booked out, 2 to 3 months in advance and so forth. And that's really kind of where that mentality really exploded. But you had reverberatory effects for other locations as well. For example, Skipper Canteen, when it debuted, I remember at the time, Disney found that it wasn't as successful as other locations that they had incorporated into the Walt Disney World Resort, and one of the reasons was it wasn't part of the dining plan, but it had a very exotic menu. So people who weren't on a dining plan couldn't seek out a location that was booked up from people who had made those reservations in advance. Would go to Skipper Canteen, have this very exotic menu, and then be put off by it. So you just have these kind of, I don't know, it's an ecosystem, right? Any little change affects so many different other things. And I think that's what was really starting to develop. So bring myself back to our story today with this, with these kind of dining gift cards, essentially. To me, this is not, as my original hypothesis had suggested, this is not a stopgap for the dining plan. I think George and OG, I think you guys really hitting on the head. This to me says demand is waning just a little bit, and this is a new enticement to book out these resort hotel locations at these certain points of the year. Just like the dining plan used to be used to enhance reservations made at some hotels when they would include that as a perk.
And it's not even just pushing any of the Disney hotels. It's more so showcasing to try to fill in those deluxe hotels, because they're giving you $125 per night. That could add up to $750 in total, where if you're staying at a value hotel, you're only getting $35 a night, which is still a nice little perk. But if you're a family of 4 and you divide that up per night, you're only getting $8.75 per person per day. That's basically one snack. So, I mean, I would have understood that based off of the number of people in your room, maybe do like $35 per person per day, because at least it entitles a person to one free meal per day of your stay. And people are going to eat more than once.
Sure.
So at least it would be a better enticement to say, let's do it per person instead of just per room.
Right.
It's interesting.
They definitely are putting enhanced emphasis on the deluxe resort hotels, because I wouldn't be surprised if demand for those resort hotels, especially after some of these perks have gone away that used to really kind of draw people in, I wouldn't be surprised if that has waned a little bit.
And especially also too taking out a lot of the theming, because it's really aiming at more of the deluxe hotels. They started with the Grand Floridian, now the Boardwalk, and
it's an interesting idea. OG, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're. I think you're right. I think it's a demand issue. Things are waning. They want to incentivize, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I mean, every business does that. You kind of have to bring customers in the door somehow, right? And if demand's waning, you lower the price, or you offer something to bring them in, or And I think it's a good idea.
Delta offering free Wi-Fi kind of tells me something's
Travel.
going on there. Why would they include something like that if they can monetize on the back end, right? That tells me something's going on here.
No, exactly. So I think this is something that is just, I don't think it's exclusive to Disney. I really don't. I do think there is this overarching issue with the vacation industry right now. Like you said, with the flights, Correct. You're seeing it at Disney World. I'm sure Universal is also discounting a lot of their stuff. I just think that's where we're at right now. And I think that these companies are trying to just get basically butts in seats and bookings. And if that means giving a dining card or a discount or an incentive, they're going to do it.
And hey, it works for us because we actually fall into that category for our vacation. So we're both going to get, for both rooms, we're going to get about $400 of dining credits. So
pretty great. I mean, that helps for sure.
Yeah.
I can, there was some frustration with, people who were saying, oh, well, what if I have a family of, I don't know, 6 or whatever, $35 per night? That doesn't go very far, but think of it as them, maybe giving back some of the money that you've already paid in. This is, don't think of this as a replacement to the dining plan whatsoever.
No.
This is really an incentivization kind of thing, and it's a perk that they're offering during this exclusive time, I think, for a reason. So we'll have to see. I know there have been talks about bringing back the dining plan. Some of the what is it? The signage and so forth, the labeling, like it still exists in some locations.
Yeah, they still haven't fully announced that they are not bringing back the dining plan. So I don't know if this is just something temporary, if they're testing the waters to see if it would work out better than the dining plan before they make that final decision. But so far, it's still in limbo.
Yeah. Now, George, I think you had an announcement of some kind. OG, go ahead and take it away for us.
Yeah, no, George has. This is actually George's idea, so I want George to kind of make the announcement, but it's in relation to the channel and our amazing audience. So take it away, George.
Thank you. So before we close this show for today, and a little bit of what we were talking about for World of Color, it all starts the premiere on January 27th, the kickoff of the Walt Disney Company's 100th anniversary. So I thought it would be kind of nice to kind of commemorate and kind of tie that into the channel for all you viewers and listeners who've dedicated yourselves to the channel and are, have been following us, whether you're just starting out, whether you've been with us for a while, but we want to give you the opportunity to win a nice Disney 100 gift bundle. And some of the stuff is really cool. I don't have it with me at the very moment for you to be able to see it, but I guarantee you it's going to be really, really nice. It's going to be for one lucky person. We're still fleshing out the logistics of what the full contest is going to be, but the winnings are really cool. But we are going to have some runner-up prizes as well, and it's these really cool Disney 100 ornaments, Dream, Wish, Believe. So that I can show you now as far as for the runner-up gift, but the grand prize is going to be really cool. So once we get all that kind of figured out, I would like to kind of kick off the contest probably on January 27th, the first day it actually kicks off the 100. So the three of us will kind of come up with something really nice and something that can really showcase for the Disney 100. So definitely please keep following us, like, subscribe, follow us on social media when you can hear about the announcement of what is going to be for you to partake into the contest and what have you. But it's definitely going to be something you don't want to miss.
Yeah, no, I think that's an awesome idea, George, because like you said, it's a celebration of this of the Walt Disney Company and its 100th anniversary, but it's also a thank you to our amazing fans who support us and our amazing community. So it is really an awesome thing. And yeah, look, like George said, look out in the coming days or weeks in regards to more details as to how to win this stuff. We're still fleshing that out, and then we'll let everybody know immediately once we figure all that out. But I want to thank you guys so much today for joining me. As always, I want to thank everyone that's watching. Thank you so much for watching. I'm going to start off with Mr. Family Man 23. If you could let everybody at home know where they can find you on social media, sir.
Absolutely. You can find me on my YouTube channel, Disney Family Man 23. If you'd like to interact with me on Twitter at Disney George. You could also find me on the new podcast, A Walk with Walt. And of course, my home base here on Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes very sticky Disney news and info.
Perfect. And down below, the DA, Dr. Dre, host of the Freshly Squeezed Show, Mr. Vashka. If you could let everybody at home know where they could find you on social media.
Hey, best place to find me is going to be at Vashguy on Twitter. It's right down there. Just type it in. Should pop up for all the, as Christine Wissons McCarthy would say, for all the
robust
discussion right there. And if you want to go ahead and see me, well, it's going to be on the channel you're watching right now, Orange Grove 55, where we have shows like The Great Orange Nerd with my buddy OG55 here. The amazing, stellar George with his Citrus Corner, and my own Freshly Squeezed, your source for juicy news and info, squeezed fresh right from the Grove.
And we also have a new show on the lineup.
We do. Yes, I do apologize. I'm trying to wrap things up here. How could I forget the incredible, the one and only Jay with Story Geeks as part of the Orange Grove 55 channel. It's just a wonderful addition. If you saw the video, I believe earlier today or yesterday, depending on when this video actually comes out, you saw that announcement. We cannot be more excited. I think it's going to be an incredible addition to the OG 55 family.
Absolutely. Yeah, and Story Geeks is basically kind of this film, TV streaming studio side of things, but is seen through like a storyteller's perspective, kind of a creative perspective. Jay Shear, the host, is a writer, so he brings an interesting perspective. Now, us will be on his show. He'll have guests on his show that we've never had on the channel before. So it's a really, really interesting thing. And like Dre said, we're over the moon, excited to have him on board. So everybody, again, thank you so much for joining us today on OG55. Comment down below with what do you think about the dining cards that Disney's giving out. And World of Color 1 looks pretty dope. What do you guys think, though? Love to hear from you. And as always, have a wonderful, wonderful day. Bye-bye.